to say what? Oh, for Christ's sake. It's the VMX Show, Season 7.
Hey now. Welcome to the VMX Show. This is the VMX Show Season 7, Episode 6, so we're halfway through the season. And this is going to be kind of a quick one today, because I don't have a whole lot to go over. I do have a lot of questions and comments, and some news to talk about, but nothing too major. No guest this week. I was going to have a guest last week. Oh god, it's a whole mess. We were going to do it, and we were going to do it last week, but that's also the reason that I didn't do a show last week, is I had a terrible migraine. I do get those every once in a while, not too often, sort of runs in my family, you know. But I had a really bad one last week, and that's why I didn't do the VMX show. I used the night to kind of lay quietly and watch a few YouTube videos and nap instead of doing the VMX show. So, let's get to your questions and comments. Like I said, this is going to be kind of a shorter episode, but, well, maybe I'll take a little more time with these questions and comments, since I did get a couple of really good ones this time. So let's see. Uber McPhailsauce asks me, what is your favorite Cracked article by Sean Baby? Now, this is interesting, because I like this question. Cracked is one of my very favorite websites on the internet. Sean Baby, one of my favorite writers on the internet. I gotta say, though, when I first got this question, I was thinking to myself, there's no way I'm going to be able to answer that, because I would have to sit there and think about every article that he's written for Cracked, and there have been quite a few, and they're all good. There's not one that really jumps out at me. But since, a week ago when Uber McPhailsauce posted that comment, he actually posted a new one on Cracked, which was things that people in commercials can't do properly, and I was cracking up. I was laughing out loud. I don't usually laugh out loud when I read things, but I was laughing my ass off at that. So I gotta say that's probably my favorite. It was fairly recent, so if anybody wants to read it, over at Cracked, very good, that classic Sean Baby ultra sarcastic way of writing, which is great stuff. Puff Miss said, I have requested Ninja Baseball Batman. You responded to the comment I did about that game. You gotta wait for it to happen. I mean, when it comes up on the list, then. And he asked, do you like the actor Owen Wilson? That really depends on what he's in, because he's very typecast as like the guy who's both likable and an asshole at the same time. The example, like if you look at like Zoolander and Meet the Parents, where he's kind of put in this role all the time, where he's the character that you're kind of hardwired to think is a douche, but then he usually plays such a nice guy that you can't seem to really hate him, so it's kind of awkward because you want to hate him, because usually he's sort of the antagonist, and the main character, the one that you're supposed to be rooting for, is kind of a dick, and he's sort of this nice guy who's kind of smug, but, just like I said, I think he does well, but he is very typecast. I would like to see him kind of branch out a little. Moving on here. Holy Kale one says, I finished Ys 7 recently. I must say it is without a doubt the best in the series. Origins is my next target on Ys. My question is, what was your favorite character to use in combat? Mine was Elk, because he was fast as shit and his skills cost little SP. Well, I gotta go with I like them all, but I gotta go with the classic. I liked using Adol the best, simply because I got really good at, ducking and weaving around, and just, I actually had a hard time with Lufia Curse of the Sinistrals because of this. I bought Lufia Curse of the Sinistrals, and I was having a hard time playing it because Maxim looks like Adol, and it's sort of a similar control scheme, but the controls are not nearly as fluid, so I was having an issue getting Maxim. I was getting hit a lot because I was trying to control him like I controlled Adol. So kind of an interesting story there. So, that's actually kind of a damn you muscle memory sort of moment, but it's also because Adol controlled so well. Okay, let's see. Savage Broadcast says, what should Sony do to turn around their fortunes after what seems like over half a decade of bad business moves? Do you have, say, a list of ideas, and what are your thoughts on the films of Walter Hill? Well, let me tackle the Sony thing first. What can they do? They need to stop fucking around. They need to stop trying to make a multimedia console and high-end handhelds, and they need to just start marketing to gamers. They need to make a machine that hits that sweet spot that the Sony PlayStation 1 and 2 hit, and that the PSP, PS3, and PS4 probably won't ever hit. They really need to work on that, and that's really, I mean, that's very simple to me, but yeah. Walter Hill, let's see, he did, I haven't seen, he did Bullet to the Head, I hadn't seen that, but he does tend to do those, like, action films, like I know he did Last Man Standing, he did Another 48 Hours, he did Red Heat, so, The Warriors was a great movie. But I haven't seen a lot of the ones that he's done, so basically I could say that the movies that I have seen by him, I've enjoyed. There's nothing on there that I look at and I'm like, oh, that's crap. So there you have that. So, okay, let's move on. Hi, Elvin Gamer says, since the new consoles are probably going to use the same architecture, x86, what's going to keep hackers from being able to use emulators on their consoles? People bash Sony for using different architecture on the PlayStation 3, but having a unique core setup protects the integrity of the console, doesn't it? Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. People bash Sony for using the cell architecture because it made it difficult on developers, and that led to a lot of broken ports like Skyrim, and it made it a very expensive machine to get games on, not to buy them, but to actually get the licensing and everything. It was a whole mess. You're saying, the x86, hackers will get in there and they're going to put emulators on there, they're going to put homebrew channels and all sorts of things. It's going to happen no matter what, and I assume that the PlayStation 4 will have some sort of protection, and I assume that hackers are going to get through it, and I assume the same thing for the next Xbox and the Wii U and everything, that there is protection, and that people will find a way around it, and that's just the way it is. So yeah, there you go. That's what I have to say about that one. XX Wicked Nava XX says, I ask completely random questions that pop in my head. I think he means in my head. Oh, and it's pronounced Nava, which is why I just said it correctly. Okay. I'll probably forget, so don't feel bad if I pronounce your name wrong again. Slayer Darth says, hey Nick, a great episode. I have a few questions. Firstly, do you believe that the downloadable game apps on the market are a threat to the console games? Secondly, in terms of fiction, what is your favorite stock character? For instance, the trickster, the hero, the damsel in distress, etc. Thirdly, do you believe that with Silva's plan in Skyfall, it seemed as if everything was aligned a little too perfectly? Lastly, can you recommend some talented screenwriters for I? For I? What? I'm going to ignore that last question because it doesn't make any sense. Thanks from Slater. Okay, the game apps. No, it's not a threat to console gamers because it really is two completely separate spheres. As a matter of fact, they're sort of sucking up a lot of the casual market, whereas consoles will, kind of go away from that. You can see that, like things like Kinect and the initial surge of the Wii Motion games did really well, but then it sort of falls by the wayside eventually, and people get these downloadable game apps for, their phones, their tablets, and things like that. I don't think it's a threat. As for favorite stock character, I don't know. I never really think about that too much. I don't like when they are obviously stock characters as much as when there's a little bit more of an organic feel to them. As for Silva's plan, like I said in my review, I think that they were very much influenced by The Dark Knight and sort of how the Joker's plan was like everything fell together perfectly, and it's like he had to rely on people doing things in a certain way and acting in a certain way, and everything had to fall together, just so. I think that, Silva handled things going wrong better than the Joker did, but or actually no, I'm sorry, the other way around. I get the feeling that the Joker pretty much had a contingency plan for everybody, whereas Silva kind of fell apart. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really give too much thought. Like I kind of like really elaborate schemes like that, and when they fall together, and then the hero has to kind of go off the grid to deal with it. So I really liked it. I didn't give it too much thought, really. Okay, moving on. Michael Moore. I kind of think it's a different Michael Moore. I'd like to think that Michael Moore would not subscribe to me. He says, hey, Nick, do you wash your beard with soap or shampoo? That is the question. That's actually a really interesting question. I don't get asked that. Okay, the answer is both. See, when I'm in the shower and I'm washing my hair, shampooing the hair, I will also shampoo the beard because and I will also condition it because I take care of my shit. But when I wash my face, obviously the beard's part of the face. You're washing your face with soap. It does get washed with soap. So the answer is that I do use both. It's kept very, very clean. XDialgo3611, XDialgo361445X says, I'm guessing you're excited for Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror Fate for 3DS. I'll add you on my 3DS friend list. All right, I don't even know how that works. Yeah, I was excited. I got it. I haven't played it yet because I'm still playing Fire Emblem Awakening, and I kind of want to run through the original Lords of Shadows for Xbox 360 and the DLC again before I play it, so I'm sort of working on that as well. Jazzmaster909 says, great show as always, Necro. Really like the guest segment of this episode. Guest, I think you mean, not guest. I actually listened to some random Frank Zappa songs, and now I'm hooked. You introduced me and possibly other viewers to great music, like Dream Theater and now Zappa. More power to you, Necro. Yeah, Frank Zappa, absolutely amazing. And, I recommend anybody just start looking at random songs on YouTube. And the first few, you may be thinking, this guy's fucked up. He's weird. What the fuck is his problem? But it gets in you. It worms its way into your ears and bores into your brain and has a little party. Let's see, moving on. Tim Fife says, hey, NecroVMX, very good show. My first question is, what do you think of the PlayStation 4 controller, and what games do you want on the PlayStation 4? I want a new Mega Man game on it because there has not been a new game in forever. Well, I mean, Mega Man 10 was not all that long ago, but I wouldn't want a new Mega Man game, but I wouldn't want it on the PlayStation 4 because I'm not interested in the PlayStation 4. I don't give a shit about the PlayStation 4. I think, I'm still playing my Xbox 360, and I'm not ready for, a whole new generation. I mean, the Wii U is one thing, but, PlayStation 4, really? And from what I understand, it's going to be very expensive. Controller, I do like that they changed the controller design up a little bit. I was getting sick of that same old DualShock controller that we'd seen since the middle of PlayStation 1 era, so I'm glad they changed that, and that it's still recognizable, but of course you can't really give a true opinion on a controller until you use it. Because I remember the first time I saw the GameCube controller, I was like, what the hell is that? It looks like a robot puked on a boomerang. But then I tried it, and very comfortable controller, one of the most comfortable controllers ever, so there you have it. Alex Shannon says, a Rocksteady game with Ninja Turtles, gotta check it out. Okay, alright. Brain failure there. There is no Rocksteady game with Ninja Turtles. Somebody was asking me what I thought of the possibility. They're not working on it as far as I know. As a matter of fact, there was a trailer just released recently for a new Ninja Turtles game that kind of looks like they were going for that Arkham City style thing, but it's not developed by Rocksteady as far as I can tell. So there you go. He also says, ever heard of the movie Titanic 2? If not, it's a mockbuster disaster movie set on the 100th anniversary of the first Titanic crash. You know what? I haven't heard of it. I don't care. So there you go. I'm moving on. SSerpent21 says, thanks for having me on the show. It was a lot of fun. For what it's worth, I can remember what got us talking and you to subscribe to me at the time. Ramat Pack. Yeah, I remember that well. Ramat Pack was bugging me about you on one of my Stern clips. I told you that I was going on, and when you heard me having the Stern clips on the time, you subbed, yeah. Did he ever piss you off or find that book he claimed? No, he admitted that the book was never existed and that he made it up. But he said it wasn't a lie, it was a tactic. Because he was accusing me that everything I said is a lie, and I'm just a big liar, and I'm tricking people. And then I was like, well, where's this book, And he's like, oh, that was a tactic. So when I say the truth, I'm lying. When he lies, it's a tactic. Tell him Skyfall kicks Thunderball and it's Thunderballs. Well, I don't talk to him, nor would I want to. He's a maniac. He's crazy. He stalks people over there in California. He's from California. I know a lot more about him than he thinks I do. There's actually some really scary things about him. I wouldn't talk to him, but Skyfall does kick Thunderball and it's Thunderballs. So there you go. You are correct about that. Okay, so CoolVids19 says, haven't watched the VMX show in is a fucking while. I think he means in a fucking while. Okay, well, glad to have you back then. Almighty Santa, a couple of comments from him. He says, here's something I wondered. I have a friend who feeds my dogs ground-up hamburger meat to my dogs. A little redundant. And I hear that's not a good idea since it's the kind that buy at the meat department, and she keeps on telling me it's fine since she tells me it's organic. Is this a good thing to do? As long as it's cooked, it's fine to give them that. I wouldn't give it to them raw. Basically, here's a good rule of thumb when it comes to people food. Don't give the dogs anything that you wouldn't eat yourself. So a lot of people, they give the dogs raw eggs, cook the eggs. It's just as good for their coat, and there's no danger of salmonella poisoning. They can get salmonella poisoning just as we can. I've had salmonella poisoning, absolutely awful thing. I was 10 years old, really, really bad. Yeah, so like I said, you wouldn't eat a raw egg, you wouldn't eat raw meat. You didn't say whether or not the meat is cooked or not, but here's the thing. It's your dogs, they're your dogs. You decide whether they get to. If you don't want them to give it to them, then they don't give it to them. I mean, they can't be giving the dogs things that you don't approve of. You're the owner, not them. So you need to put your foot down. Personally, like I said, if it's cooked meat, it's no big deal as a treat, But if it's raw, definitely not. He also says, oh, and one more thing. Did you see Argo? Because I did, and it wasn't as good as everyone is making it out to be. Django Unchained and Zero Dark 30 were much better movies. Also, I think the guy who made the comment about Tanya is a troll. Well, he said he was joking in one of these comments, but I haven't seen Argo, so I don't know. It looked like a really good movie, but maybe one day you'll get my opinion on that. But as of now, I haven't seen it. Okay, so Razarath92 says, what's the worst lyric you've ever heard in a song? For me, it's a tie-in between Kanye West lines, super bad chicks giving me McLovin, or trade the Grammy plaques just to have my granny back. You know she'd have that bad hip like a fanny pack. Well, those are bad, but I mean, okay, I'm just going to say, anything that ever had anything to do with the Spice Girls is the worst lyric ever. So there you go. Another comment from SSerpent21. Hey, Necro, here's an actual question. I just watched Skyfall again, and I came to an awful realization. Silva the villain has pale hair, questionably has mommy issues, and almost a little sympathetic in regards to his past with M. Bond fighting Sephiroth? Oh, Jesus, that's not good. Have you come to this realization, or am I imagining things? Would that make General Orlov Kefka, since Orlov was such a clown? Okay, I immediately saw where you were going with that. I don't really think that... I think that there is a common thread of Oedipus Rex complex, and the relationship between, father, mother, and son. But definitely, I think they were going more for Joker than Sephiroth there. DrewLand94 says, hey, Necro, did you get SimCity? If you did, would you recommend it? Well, I didn't get SimCity, and I'll be talking about SimCity quite a lot. I'm going to have a little rant about that a little bit later in the show, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, let's see. The Return of Kali Yuga says, Bolt, Superdog's Tube, and the Moogle Master are the same person. He's a psycho Bolt fanboy and insults people that hate Bolt. Plus, he owns a full-on Bolt fursuit, and I am not fucking joke. I think you mean joking. He seriously does. Plus, he's got another channel with all kinds of silly shit on it. I should send you a PM of that. You actually did. I don't care. What does it matter? Like, if he wants to be obsessed with that movie, whatever. I don't want to know about it. And he says, and yes, the whole Tanya question was a joke. I just want to see how you would react. Yeah. Well, you got that. Moving on here. Slayer Darth says, hey, Necro, I have a few questions for you. With regards to the novel versions of Smersh and Spectre, which organization did you prefer, and which one did you think posed more of a threat to Bond in the novels? I think Smersh was more widespread, and since it was a Soviet agency, it would have the backing of many communist nations. Also, they had Drax, who was miles better in the book than in the film. Yeah, Spectre was sort of a really minor thing. It was really only in Thunderball, and then after that, when Bond was going after Blofeld, I mean, his bosses were like, we're going after Spectre, and he's like, no, Spectre's gone, it's just Blofeld now, and that is what turned out to be happening. So, yeah, definitely I agree with you. Spectre was kind of a one-note thing in the books that turned into this huge thing in the movie, in the movies, because I believe Smersh was disbanded before Dr. No started, so there you have it. Okay, so, he has another comment here. I didn't see this. Continued. Regarding to Skyfall, the idea of someone discrediting MI6 is cool, though they could have involved Bond more. Well, Bond wasn't around. You gotta remember, he wasn't, he was somewhere else. Also, the execution of Silva's plot was patchy and bordered on downright stupidity at times. I don't agree. I think there's a such thing as willing suspension of disbelief that you gotta have in any Bond film, any action film, really. Do you think the tablet computer downloadable games could threaten the console game? I just talked about this, so I'm going to skip that. You seem to have a Sporkle account. Can you make some film quizzes, please? I haven't bothered with that in a long time. It's such a pain in the ass to make quizzes on that thing that I just stopped. And finally, I have some Love Film. That's the UK equivalent of Netflix for the Wii, and would like names for influential actors and directors. What are you coming to me for? I don't know. I don't know what you're into. I'm just going to move on here. Okay, and this person tells me how to get his name right. LV09 Music. I was saying level 09. You know, any RPG fan, when you put LV together, we think level, especially if there's a number right after it. He says, I was wondering, Negro, what inspired you to do your videos? Great show. Been a fan since the first season. P.S. When you say Valve me jump into the console race, could you elaborate? No, I already have elaborated as much as I really can without making shit up. I'm talking about the Steam box, of course. They are working on a console. We don't have that many details on it. Codename Steambox. The Steam experience on a console. I mean, PC games on your television. That's a great idea. Inspired me to do my videos? Boredom. That's what inspired me to do it. Boredom. I thought it was a good idea. I always like talk when I'm playing games, so I thought, why not share it with the world? Okay, oh, here's the Moogle Master. Hey, I like System of a Down and Primus plus Earthbound as well. So what? Here's 3 questions for you. Number 1, do you like reggae music? Not particularly. Number 2, what is your all-time favorite animated movie? Oh, all-time favorite animated movie. That's a good question. Oh, I know, the Simpsons movie. I really like that one. Okay, and number 3, what is your favorite superhero video game? Batman Arkham City. And by the way, I may think The Dark Knight is overrated, but The Dark Knight Rises was amazing. Well, whatever. And finally, Irish Talk says, Hey Necro, after seeing one of your Clearing Confusion videos about Dragon Quest, I decided to buy one of the games. I got Dragon Quest VI Realms of Revelation for DS. It's literally one of the best RPGs I've ever played. What Dragon Quest games have you played, and what games do you recommend I play next? I own a Wii U, PlayStation 3, and DS. I've played them all. And I can say, since you have the DS, you might as well get the other ones in the DS, 4, 5, and 9. 5 was the best out of the remakes. 9 is just a spectacular game. If you have the type of PlayStation 3 that lets you play PlayStation 2 games, you have to get Dragon Quest 8 for PlayStation 2. Amazing. It actually is my favorite RPG of all time. So definitely get that. So, that being said, that's our questions and comments. Let's talk about the news. And actually I want to talk about SimCity quite a bit here, because that's the big news of this week. Okay, so yeah, the big news of the week is that EA's SimCity was released to much problems. And let me tell you, okay, so this actually, the problem that we're having is that the game itself is decent. I've been told that it's a great game. I've been told that it may be sort of a step down from SimCity 4, but, really still worth playing in a good game. The problem is to do a lot with not so much the game itself, but the problem of being able to play it. I'm going to tell you, I'm looking at Metacritic right now. Right now, Metacritic has, it's actually gone down a bit. The Metascore is 66 out of 100. Mixed or average reviews based on 28 critics, 14 positive reviews, 10 mixed reviews, 4 negative reviews. It was actually a bit higher last time, but the backlash is starting to seep into critic reviews as well. For user reviews, based on 2,962 user-submitted reviews, it has a 1.7 out of 10. 189 positive reviews, 44 mixed reviews, 1,385 negative reviews. And this is the problem. You can't play it. You buy it, it's broken, you can't play it. Why can't you play it? Because of the always-on DRM. It has always-on DRM. People have asked me, because I've been talking about this all week, what is DRM? What is always-on DRM? DRM is digital rights management. It's basically the modern way of saying copy protection, anti-piracy measures. For example, Steam is a form of DRM. It may be a client, but, a lot of games force you to have Steam. Of course, Steam is free, or some of them even have a client loaded onto the disk to be able to play a game. And that prevents you from, copying it all over the place, because it'll become connected to your Steam account. Here's the problem. This is always on DRM, which means you must have a continuous internet connection to be able to play the game, including portions of the game that are single player. So if you want to play just single player offline SimCity, well, you need to be online. The problem is, okay, you're already online, but the servers are not. The servers got overloaded and went down. People were getting messages that to play a single player game, they would have to have waits up to 18 hours for the servers to come back up. Servers were crashing. So, big backlash. People have SimCity, can't fucking play it. So what do? They go for a refund. Most stores not offering refunds except for box copies. Amazon is the only retailer currently offering actual refunds, which is causing Amazon to get overloaded with refund requests. EA themselves in their ridiculous Origin service are denying people refunds, even though they said in the press release that if people are unhappy with the product, they can request a refund. It is true. If you are unhappy with the refund, you can request a refund. Doesn't mean they'll give you one. It is actually their policy not to give refunds ever for anything ordered over Origin. So, yeah, they lied, and there was a chat with somebody had with an Origin employee about a refund, and the chat log went viral, and EA's name is mud now, so it's like, thank you, Electronic Arts, for sucking at what you do and being lame. Don't buy SimCity. I'm telling you this now, don't buy it, you won't be able to play it, and you should not be supporting EA at this point in time until they get their shit together. So I don't have a whole lot of news to go through, but it is some interesting stuff. GameStop. A few news bits about GameStop. Well, just really one thing. You might have heard of this guy, Christopher Oliveira. He was the former vice president of GameStop, vice president of corporate communications and public affairs. He has been sentenced to 51 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to embezzling over $1.7 million via mail fraud. And he was also fined $57,000 plus for funds unpaid on a GameStop's loss, and another $77,000 in restitution. So this guy apparently was stealing from the company, was stealing from customers, was doing all sorts of messed up stuff. He is now going to be in jail for quite a while. If you're looking to buy a Vita and the price point was stopping you, there are some Sony stores in the United States that have started dropping the price of a 3G incompatible PlayStation Vita down to $200. That's the base 3G bundle, which includes the actual system, an 8GB memory card, and a voucher for a free PlayStation Network game if you sign up for data coverage. So this is happening in some places across the country, New Jersey, Las Vegas. It's kind of starting to spread. California, Colorado. There is a full listing, if you go online, of what stores have dropped the price. I'm actually looking. There's nothing near me, really, so that's kind of sad. But whatever. If you were looking forward to the possibility of there being a BioShock movie, certainly there have been talks about it. It showed up on IMDb or whatever. Stop. It's not going to happen. Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock, says he killed the movie. Basically, he wanted to make it a hard R-rated film with a lot of blood, Irrational Games. That's Kevin Levine. He said that during a BAFTA talk, and apparently they were the studios were looking for a PG-13 film. They were looking for a small budget. He wanted a large budget. Then they brought in a different director. He didn't like who it was, so, he says, that's it. They said, if you want to kill it, kill it, so he killed it. There won't be a BioShock movie, at least anytime in the near future. If you're looking forward to the new Ouya console, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that it will ship with online multiplayer, which seems like a real duh thing. I mean, of course it will, but it won't ship with online chat, friends list, or achievements. So if you're looking forward to that, you gotta wait. So there you go. If you missed out on Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams, which was on 3DS and PlayStation, this is coming to the Wii U. Just figured I'd mention that. It's funny how this really beautiful looking game with really creative platforming is this thing that started off as a blatant Super Mario ripoff back then, yeah. So there you go on the Commodore 64. Square Enix has a huge sale going right now on Xbox Live Arcade, so if you go into Games on Demand, you can get Sleeping Dogs for $20, Mini Ninjas for $10, Supreme Commander 2 for $15, Dungeon Siege 3 for $10, Deus Ex Human Revolution is $15, Tomb Raider Anniversary is $10, Kane and Lynch 2 is $10, and Tomb Raider Underworld is $10. Some of those are some pretty big discounts. Like Sleeping Dogs is coming down from $45 to $20. Kane and Lynch 2 is coming down from $40 to $10. Big, deep cuts there. If you go in the arcade, and these are in Microsoft points, Mensa 800 is now 400 points. Mini Ninjas Adventures is 400 points. Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light is now 600 points. All Zombies Must Die is now 400 points. Puzzle Arcade is now 400 points. And Gion is now 400 points. And there is also a huge run on DLC. I'm not going to go through all that, but if you're looking for DLC for Sleeping Dogs, Deus Ex Human Revolution, Kane and Lynch 2, Tomb Raider Underworld, Battle Station Specific, Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, or Just Cause 2, they all have heavily, heavily discounted DLC. So there you go. Last news thing that I want to talk about, if you were looking forward to the release of, or I should say the re-release of The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, they will be coming to the 3DS eShop before summer. So there you go. So that's pretty cool. So that's what's going on in the news. Not much else. So like I told you guys, this was going to be a shorter episode, didn't I? I hate to do this to you because I know you guys look forward to a full hour, but don't have much to talk about this week. And I'm a little rushed, I will admit, because of things that are going on here, and I don't have much time and whatnot. But let me get to the sales figures before we end it off. So let's bang this out like I banged your mom. Ooh, yeah, giddy. Okay, so here is the top 10 best-selling games in Japan for the week ending in March 3rd. The top-selling game was Dynasty Warriors 8 for PlayStation 3 that sold 212,798 copies. Professor Layton and the Legacy of Civilization A for 3DS sold 132,824 copies. Senran Kagura... Oh, God. Senran Kagura Shinobi vs. Shujatachi no Shumei. That's on PlayStation Vita, and that sold 91,668 copies. Dragon Ball Heroes Ultimate Mission on the 3DS sold 89,926 copies. Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS sold 76,089 copies. Shining Arc for PlayStation Portable, don't buy this, although it's probably never going to come to America. 65,748 copies. I went into a whole rant about Sega there, and Shining Arc, and their whole YouTube thing. Macross 30 Ginja no Tsunagu Utagoe, that's on the PlayStation 3, and it sold 60,876 copies. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance on the PlayStation 3 sold 57,445 copies. Phantasy Star Online 2 for PlayStation Vita sold 56,208 copies, and Dragon Warrior 7 on the 3DS sold 43,595 copies. Over in Europe, the big seller was Crysis 3, the Xbox version, 33,435 copies. Of course, Xbox 360. Crysis 3 for PlayStation 3, 29,669 copies. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance for PlayStation 3 sold 26,478 copies. FIFA Soccer 13 for PlayStation 3 sold 25,321 copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the PlayStation 3 sold 23,333 copies. FIFA Soccer 13 for Xbox 360 sold 21,522 copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for Xbox 360 sold 18,782 copies. Far Cry 3 for the PlayStation 3 sold 15,398 copies. Crysis 3 for PC sold 15,394 copies. And New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS sold 15,108 copies. Here in America, the big seller was Crysis 3 on the Xbox 360, sold 59,034 copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on Xbox 360 sold 35,371 copies. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance for PlayStation 3 sold 32,759 copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the PlayStation 3 sold 24,707 copies. Crysis 3 for PlayStation 3 sold 24,313 copies. Fire Emblem Awakening over on the 3DS sold 22,006 copies. NBA 2K13 on the Xbox 360 sold 20,139 copies. Halo 4 on the Xbox 360 sold 19,276 copies. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance for Xbox 360 sold 18,879 copies. And Far Cry 3 on the Xbox 360 sold 17,481 copies. For hardware charts, so globally the big seller was Dynasty Warriors 8, followed by Professor Layton, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Crysis 3, that long Japanese title for PlayStation Vita, Dragon Ball Heroes, Animal Crossing, Shining Arc, and Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Okay, so for hardware, the big seller in Japan was the 3DS. It moved 77,572 units. PlayStation Vita moved 60,897 units. The PlayStation 3, 24,793 units. PlayStation Portable, 11,279 units. The Wii U, 9,712 units. The Wii, 1,759 units. The Xbox 360, 387 units, and the DS, 101 units. Once again, I have to wonder who in Japan doesn't have a DS. How do they sell 100 of them? I mean, even if your DS breaks, just go get a 3DS. I don't know who's buying these. Wow, I mean, Jesus, who doesn't have it by now? Over in Europe, the top seller was the PlayStation 3, 47,224 units moved. 3DS moved 31,127 units. Xbox 360 moved 26,174 units. The PlayStation Vita, 8,295 units. The Wii U, 6,982 units. The Wii, 6,488 units. The DS, 5,758 units. And the PlayStation Portable, 1,601 units. And in North America, the big winner, of course, the Xbox 360, 50,715 units moved. PlayStation 3, 32,390 units. 3DS moved 16,582 units, the DS 11,162 units, the Wii U 9,170 units, the Wii 8,775 units. Well, I mean, 8,000 people, nearly 9,000 people in America that don't have a Wii. That's amazing. The PlayStation Vita 5,027 units, and the PSP 501 units. So there you have that. So that's going to be the... Oh, actually, you know what? I have one more news story that I just found here, and it's actually really funny. Wow. This is amazing. So there was a Danish news station that there was a recent report on this Danish news station on Syria. And basically, they wanted to use a landscape shot of the skyline of Damascus for the background, and while they were talking about Syria, and instead of actually getting a photograph of Damascus, apparently, wow, I can't even say this without laughing, they used a screenshot from Assassin's Creed. I mean, that is just really funny to me. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that might have looked a little familiar for those Danes there, yeah. They might have been watching the news, they were hearing about, trouble in Syria, and then up pops Assassin's Creed. I mean, that's just funny, but okay. I gotta stop here. I got a lot of shit to do, and that's gonna be the show, so I'll see you guys next week. If you want to be on the show, let me know. See you then. VMX out.